Small business owner? Entrepreneur? Want to learn how online marketing can improve your business?
Your questions.
Our advice.
This is Not a Real Job.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to episode 50 of Not a Real Job, our podcast about digital marketing, social media, travel, and our lives, and all sorts of things like that. And I am Chris Van Patten, and I make websites and web apps in New York City.
And I'm Joel Kelly, and I do social media strategy and execution for travel and tourism brands
Out of Nova Scotia, Canada.
Well, screw off. I almost said a worse cuss word, but I didn't because I restrained myself. But now I'm going to do the whole podcast like this.
Just being a grump over there.
Yeah.
Well, we are off to the races, I guess, for what is, it turns out, our 1 year birthday, anniversary, whatever you want to call it, of Not a Real Job.
Yeah, I mean, it's a shame we weren't able to stay friends for the whole year, and it's been kind of awkward doing this podcast as more and more bitter enemies, but...
Yeah, more hatred, and it really just came to a head right there. You heard it here,
Yeah,
live.
I mean, that was it. This is our breakup, actually.
I guess this is our final podcast, in addition to being the 1 year, so...
I wish we hadn't missed those two. Like, wouldn't it have been great if... it was our 52nd episode and our 1 year.
I don't know. Yes, on one hand. On the other hand, 50 is a nice round number.
It is.
It feels a little better than 52, which seems kind of arbitrary.
Right. 2 weeks ago, we would have been having like our 50th episode and like big deal. And then I guess, 2 weeks later, we would have the 1 year anniversary episode. So I guess it's good to put it all together. I mean, I don't know. It's hard to say. There's no going back now. But more importantly, what are you drinking, Chris?
I'm drinking just water because, once again, we are recording very early. And also, I had kind of a late night last night, so I'm still recovering from that.
Me too. That's why I'm drinking a martini. At noon. Yeah, I had a bit of a late night as well. Completely indoors, though. Just drinking with my friend and playing video games, which... Here's the thing, though, folks. Big news. This kid... on the weight loss train, finally decided to not be quite as fat. But what that has meant is that I do a lot less drinking than I used to. So now when I have a few drinks, I get drunk real fast, which is interesting.
It's sort of a mixed blessing.
Yeah, definitely. It's a lot less predictable than I was used to.
Sure.
Anyway.
Okay. That's sort of how it goes.
Yep. So basically, as most people know, I'm definitely a no half measures person. So it's really all or nothing, and it was all last night, and I guess into today. So there you go. I don't really know how to launch into. How do we celebrate our own podcast?
That is an excellent question.
I mean, obviously, Steve's going to put in like some noisemakers. I assume throughout the entire background noise. Oh, yeah, Steve. For this podcast,
oh God,
let's have the entire all 20 minutes. Just have some background sounds of a party as if people showed up. And
please
like
don't do that. Please don't do that.
Who pays your invoices, Steve? Remember that.
Please don't do that. That sounds like a terrible idea.
It sounds fantastic, and we can like be barely heard over the noise.
I guess this is probably also a good time to remind us all that the Happy Birthday song is in copyright, and I have no interest in paying royalties on it. So
I'm going to sing it.
Oh, God. Maybe we should dive into something potentially useful and share some of our lessons from a year of podcasting, which we didn't write down in advance.
Oh,
and
no.
This segment was literally a text message last night. I think we should share some of our lessons.
Did you give it any thought?
I did. I gave it a little thought.
Okay, well, then you go first.
Sure. Okay, so I would say the first lesson, and I don't know if these really count as lessons or more observations, but the fact that we got to 50 episodes and only missed 2 is kind of crazy to me. And I think part of that is because we have a a reasonably good process in place, right? So we've got originally Adrian and now Lindsay who compile the show notes, which was a huge time suck for me for a while. Steve handles the editing. And then also like the moving the show in between these different steps has all gotten to be very fluid. Like we've got the process where we drop it into Dropbox. It sort of magically gets edited by Steve. And we're going to have him on a show soon to explain how he does that. And then it's an Asana task gets assigned to Lindsay by Steve. And then she, posts it. And then the next week sends out the show notes for the next episode. And it's very process driven, which I think simplifies it for you and I and means that we're much more likely to not stop.
Yeah, absolutely. We've gotten into the point where our time commitment is literally 20 minutes each week, which means, of course, and then if, any prep work or any stuff that we want to do.
Work.
Yeah, I know. I said that in the event we do any prep work, that would add time. I think the book club episode I definitely put some time into. But yeah, other than that, so I think that's it. So even though today we're recording at a different time than normal. Sometimes we record, Monday night after work when things come up. We're able to just get it done. As long as we have the time to record, we have the podcast. And that's why I'm still the idea that Griffin on Mabibam still edits their podcast himself.
It's crazy. They've got real sponsors and real money and major brands with them. They should hire it out.
I know it. I guess, I don't know if they edit for content, maybe because they're a comedy podcast, he wants to have control over editing for content and, making it as funny as possible. But I don't get the impression that the show is heavily edited. It just seems like a horrible, and he was just using Audacity for a long time. He may still. Unbelievable.
Which is just a horrible experience.
They put together 3 clip shows so far themselves. Can't even imagine. Sounds like a nightmare. But obviously Chris and I are of the opinion where if we can throw money at a problem, we will.
Absolutely. And I guess that sort of ties into this as well, is that the fact that I think if we didn't have this process in place, I don't think we would be doing it. One, just because it simplifies our lives, but two, we don't make any money doing the show, which I think we've been kind of open about in the past. We're accepting advertising, haven't gotten, all but one offer. So
yeah,
I think
one, I don't think I was ever paid for that.
Figures. If we didn't have this process in place, the incentive, the incentive to do the show is basically zero. It's basically we're doing this for our own enjoyment.
Yeah.
But if we didn't have a process in place, not only would the incentive be zero, but the amount of effort would be 100. So we're not making any money. And sort of ironically, that means that I'm
more likely to do it.
Yeah, I'm more likely to spend the money, even though we're not making money doing it, because that means that I don't have to do the work and it's sort of transparent. I don't feel compelled to rush out and hustle for advertisers, so I can pay someone to do it because we're already doing that.
Yeah. Yeah. No, 100%. So I guess is that, our first lesson is just make it easy.
Yeah, absolutely. Make it easy and make it, make it fast.
I think this is the longest I've ever stuck with something. I have quit jobs in shorter time than I've done this podcast.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Several, yeah. So yeah, what are my lessons? Get a microphone. Remember to use it.
It's a good one.
Don't have your first episode with a guest that you're super excited about be your worst audio quality because you're a dummy who forgot to use your mic. It's that. Plug your website as often as possible.
That's a good one.
Yeah, go to joekelly.ca for more tips and tricks. Definitely drink. But I guess that would be my tip for anything from recording a podcast to just getting through the day. I don't have any tips, Chris. I don't think I know anything about podcasting. Oh, listen to podcasts. That's, I think, the big thing. Yeah. and not like, obviously listen to podcasts if you're making one, because it would be weird not to, though I've heard that some people do that. But it's really good to just learn how other people do their podcast, to see the differences. I mean, just and honestly, the biggest rule that I think Justin McElroy from A Bib Man posted on Twitter the other day is like, do like 4 or 5 episodes, or maybe he said 10 before you even release one. We didn't do that.
Well, we sort of did that.
Oh, right. Yeah. No one listened to them because we were paid. We asked people to pay for them.
Yeah.
So no one listened to the first. How many did we do?
I think we did around 20.
20 episodes.
Yeah.
No one heard them.
Yeah.
Allegedly, people, when they find the show, go through the back episodes, though.
Well, interestingly enough, now that we've hit 50, we're going to be in an interesting point going forward, because iTunes only shows or only allows you to access the latest 50 through iTunes. So you can obviously like go to our site, and we're not going to remove them from there, but you would have to go back one by one and download each episode and transfer it to your phone or your iPod or whatever you have. But you're not going to be able to just go to iTunes and scroll all the way down and find episode 1. It won't be there.
I didn't know that.
Yep.
Huh.
I've heard rumor that it's configurable somewhere and that you can potentially change it to pull the back 50 or the back 100 episodes, but I can't figure out how to do it. So if somebody out there does know, like, please shoot me an email or something.
If you can't do it, Chris, no one can.
Well, I like to think that, but I figured I'd just put the offer out there just to be safe and see who dares challenge me.
I think another lesson I would say, only because I think our last episode is probably one of our best, really come to the podcast with something to talk about. I think we definitely struggled on a number of episodes of just going completely cold into like a question without any sort of warm up. I think even like our brief thing about, what are you drinking today is good for the podcast as kind of a warm up to get into it, because obviously, and this is true, Chris and I don't like, you would imagine we would talk for a bit before we both hit record. But I'm going to say, what would you think? Like under 40 seconds of discussion on average?
Yeah, it's usually, hey, Joel, how's it going? How you doing this week? That's good. All right,
and
let's
I'm
do
recording.
It. Yeah.
So if you're going to do it like we do, I mean, come with some sort of discussion topic or some hook that you can get that kind of gets the conversation going can be handy. All I'm thinking about now, since I got Overcast, the new podcast app from Marco Arment, which everyone should check out. Go to overcast.fm. It's a new podcast app that's actually different from the others. I don't want to spoil it for you in a sense by like running through all the features, but go to the website and check it out. It's cool. One of the features, though, is that it removes silences from podcasts. And now I'm looking at like the waveforms on Audacity and just thinking about, oh man, this is going to be an interesting one to listen to with that feature turned on, because there's so like these huge gaps of just
Yeah, so try to minimize your That's probably a good thing to suggest. This is actually something that I personally have been thinking about a lot. It's like the the pauses, and also I guess I would call them my verbal tropes.
They're called word whiskers, I believe.
Word whiskers. I like that. Obviously an ums, but things like I'll say 100% a lot, or I'll say totally agree, or whatever. And these little things that I say probably multiple times an episode, trying mentally, like if it's not going so well yet, but it is at the point where if I recognize myself saying one of those, I'm like, oh crap, I gotta be more careful about that later, so I don't say it more. Which I don't know really matters in the end, but I because it certainly adds sort of visual style or verbal style, auditory style, I guess. Like, so that's maybe one of my trademark signature phrases. But I am sort of making the effort actively to tone those things down a little bit.
That's funny you mentioned that. I've kind of leaned into my, well, now I'm doing it now, but like my stutter and my ums and ahs. I don't know. I think that it adds more color. It's like, the people who tell you that you shouldn't say or ah or stutter and be clear all the time, I think that, yes, it makes it technically better the way that you're speaking, but it makes it more boring. I mean, if you listen to a talk by, say, Sam Harris, who I'm not going to get into, and start a controversy about religion on the podcast. But anyway, I enjoy listening to his talks, but he's so precise in the way he speaks. It can kind of put you to sleep. He has no ums or ahs, no word whiskers at all, no ticks. He pauses to formulate his thought before he starts speaking, and it's so precise, it's almost infuriating. It's like reading a perfectly crafted essay. It's boring, no matter what the topic is, because it's too precise. There's no color, there's no personality. So I used to be quite good at that. I mean, I did a fairly intensive series of public speaking training as a child in the cult in which I was raised. And then after that, just, professionally, I took a lot of it and got quite good at speaking without any of that. And I totally hated it. I thought my presentations were worse as a result. And I've totally gone way into ums and ahs and stuttering because I just think I don't know. I think it adds more color. I like it. I mean, if you're listening to this podcast going, oh my God, screaming at me, going, I wish you would stop it, I'm sorry, but I don't think I'm going to make any concerted effort to change anything like that.
I would love to hear what the listeners actually think about that. What feels more natural to you? When you're listening to a podcast, like do the ums and the ahs and the stuttering bother you? If for no other reason than my own personal curiosity.
Oh yeah, I'm super curious. I'm not going to change, but I'd love to know.
Sure. So definitely let us know about that.
Dan Harmon is a very, I'm going to say, prolific stutterer. If you don't listen to Dan Harmon's podcast, Harmontown, creator of Community and a number of other things, he's a huge stutterer. Like not in like it's the actual speech difficulty, but like the not being able to think faster than you can speak. Something
that you're demonstrating.
Yeah, I certainly don't want to undermine the actual affliction of stuttering. But yeah, so he actually did about 20 minutes of his podcast once without doing it at all, and it made me like anxious. Like it was because it was again just too precise, and it was very, I don't know, it was kind of awkward to listen to, but it was funny. Mm-hmm. But I certainly don't think that I'm going to ever really attempt that. Oh my God, we're like 17 minutes in and we haven't done anything yet.
Well, I have one more final point, and this is something you sort of mentioned, the idea of listening to podcasts. I'm going to put this out there. Make sure you're listening to the podcast that you're recording while you're recording it. Make sure you're listening to the other person. And it sounds kind of silly, but there have been times.
Yes. Oh my God. I'm glad you're saying this. Yes,
I'll just drift off, or, I'm in front of my computer. So like there might be another tab nagging me in the background. And so I'll kind of flip over and think, oh, I can multitask. I can listen and go at the same time. And then you'll finish a point and I'll say, oh, fuck. Yep. Oh, whoops. I just cursed. We'll have to make this explicit now. But yeah, it's an interesting little problem.
So terrible. Your entire episode about WordPress security. I didn't hear a word of that.
I can't think of any examples where I did that to you, but I know I did, and I know I can't think of the examples because I wasn't paying attention.
Yeah, that is a great tip. Yeah, it definitely takes effort because we're not in the same room. Yeah. It's incredibly easy to.
Well, I mean, I'm gonna be honest. The Sherry episode, that famous episode where I lost my wallet, there were definitely some points in that night where I might have tuned out. I blame the excessive alcohol consumption at that point.
Well, should we? No, that would be rude of me to put some brackets around how much you had consumed. Which was really 2 beer and a glass of sherry.
Well, that thing you were talking about the weight loss. I've been living that for the past all my life.
Yeah.
Being a person of small stature, relatively to you, certainly.
Oh, well.
No, you're
thanks
tall.
for calling me fat on the podcast.
No,
That's
you're like 7 feet tall. That's all.
I'm about 7.5 feet tall, about 400 pounds.
He's a mountain man from the great wilderness beyond,
That's how we grow them up here.
north of the wall, that
Yeah.
kind of thing. Well,
North of the wall is great. Yeah, we should refer to Canada as north of the wall.
the wildlings up there.
Yeah.
Cool.
All right. We have to do we have anything else we can actually make this a worthwhile podcast?
We do. Well, we have this question from Tommy, but sorry, Tommy.
Oh, well, we've got my big giveaway.
Yeah, so we're going to focus on that question next week.
Should have led into. We should have started the podcast with this. No one is listening at this point. Everyone's dropped off, and now I'm going to talk about how I need their money.
Oh boy, here we go again, folks.
Buckle in. All right. So my fiance has informed me that I have not been as serious as I should be about this issue on the podcast. She thinks I have been too. What's not I have used too
Laissez-faire?
much levity. Yeah.
Well, I mean, before we go too much further, I would like to point out that we're sort of a comedy podcast.
Are we a comedy podcast?
You're making voices, so I think that immediately means that we're a comedy podcast.
Oh, good. Yeah.
As long as there are
Puns
voices
and funny
involved.
voices. All right. I'm gonna do a couple impressions now, real quick. No, I'm not. I can't.
This is
I was gonna do
Jimmy Stewart here for Not a Real Job. The podcast is very good.
That's pretty good, actually.
Yes, nailed it.
I paid that Robert De Niro impersonator on Fiverr, and he never delivered.
Boy.
So mad.
That's frustrating.
Anyway, that's a separate issue. I'm back to angry. So, guys, my new book, Scolding the Winds, super, super personal story, incredibly important to me. I think, $145 away from it being fully backed.
I'm going to check.
I am asking you, if you're listening to the podcast, you're already a supporter of me. So I'm not asking you for money, but I am asking that you maybe just link to my latest blog post at joelkelly.ca. Excuse me, I burped, which happens a lot.
Classy.
Yep. If you can just do that, I would super appreciate it, because I am doing something I have never done before. Oh man, sorry. I don't even lend. Yeah, I don't lend books because I don't trust people with them. I am giving away 2 books, the best books that I read this year. They're my copies. They're the ones I have underlined. So the ones I have my marginalia, all my notes in the margins. They are super, super, super important to me. And I am giving them away because I'm looking for more people to pre-order my book. So all you have to do to get Ryan Holiday's The Obstacle is the Way, which is an incredible book where he uses what he's learned about Stoic philosophy and the people who've practiced it over history to make your life better, to make you be able to overcome obstacles, for you to be able to succeed. It sounds dry, but I assure you it's not. Ryan Holiday, if you don't know, former director of marketing for American Apparel. I think he started that job when he was like 22. Did research for Tim Ferriss, Robert Greene. I don't know, the guy who did like the Laws of Power book. Really, really incredible guy. This book is fantastic. I have basically every page has a dog ear and some notes or underlines. And the other book, of course, which Chris and I were both huge fans of, despite our last episode where we're kind of disappointed personally in Ed Catmull, we both still think his book is unbelievably good. I'm also giving away my copy of Creativity Inc. by Ed Catmull, the president of Pixar. By Ed Catmull and Amy Wallace. I'm giving that away as well. And both books are very similar in certain ways. They're incredibly meaningful and were important and useful to me. And I'm giving them away. All you have to do to win both those copies, the retail value of these is about $50, but the worth is much bigger than that, is contribute $5 or more to my Inkshares project, where I am raising money to publish my new book. That's all. You can win both those books. It would be hugely appreciated if you could just share that link with your friends. Just go to joelkelly.ca. It's the top link there. Share it.
And I'm going to level this up a little bit. I'm also going to give away a book. I'm going to give away, if you donate or if you pre-order at the value of $10 or more, you're going to be entered into a separate giveaway to win one of my books. And I'm going to be giving away the book. Oh boy, literally just out of my head. The book is by Peter Shankman. It is called Nice Companies Finish First. And it is basically saying like, hey, you don't have to be a terrible person. You don't have to be a terrible boss. Your company can have strong, positive values and you can still be successful. So it's a lot of case studies. It's very good. It's hopefully things that our listeners will already know, because I like to think that our listeners aren't terrible people. But it touches on a lot of the things that we've touched on this show about being a good boss and managing a team well and that kind of thing. So it's a really, really good book. It's a hardcover copy, and I don't have any notes in it because I'm not a note writer in my books. But you will enjoy it all the same, I hope. And that's if you enter $10 or more at notarealjob.com/Joel's book.
Yes. Thank you. Thank you so much, Chris. So yeah, I mean, I'm super excited about this. The book, again, it's not, I assure you, it's not funny. Though there is a poop joke in it at this point in the first draft. So
Good.
yeah, I assure you, it's highly unlikely that it'll make it to the second draft. But at this point, there is a single poop joke. It makes me laugh, but I think it's kind of gross. Yeah. So, I mean, like the book it's a fiction story, but it uses some parts of my goof earlier about growing up in a cult. Not a goof. True story. So it's using kind of examples of my past, some of my friends, some people I know, just through the ex-cult community, their experiences, and trying to tell a story about family, about loss, about making a new family after you lose your own. Yeah, it's personal, but it also there is a plot, so it's not just going to be a downer. Well, it's going to be a bit of a downer, but you know there is a plot. You can read more about it on joelkelly.ca, and yeah, if you help me out at this point, you know, $145 away. I mean, if I don't get any more backers, I'm just gonna put in the rest, but every single dollar more that gets raised goes towards more marketing for the book, making it more of a success. This is a hard book to write. It's the hardest thing I've ever written by far. Most important thing I've ever written by far. I would really like it to be a success because I think it's going to help people. I mean, I really think if you're the kind of person who had a bad time in high school, you're gonna like it. You're gonna get something meaningful out of it. And I think there's a lot of people out there who are struggling with a lot of the same things that the character in the book is struggling with. And I think it'll help. It'll be it'll be a really useful and important book for people, I hope. So if you can, just $5 or more, you don't have to email me your receipt or anything, since I get emailed when people contribute anyway, and you have to enter your email address and stuff to give money. So I've got all of that. So yeah, just do it and just share it with your friends. It would mean a lot to me. So thank you.
And we'll put all that linkage and informations and things into the show notes. So you'll be able to check that out at notarealjob.com and get all the inside scoop as well.
Yeah. So yeah, we'll make it a whole thing. That's our 1 year anniversary giveaway and giveaway for my book. So it's all together in there.
Yes. And I guess that brings us to the end of the show. So thank you for listening so far for 50 episodes. I don't stress this enough. Like, we can't do this without you. And I mean, obviously we can, because we mentioned this whole process and everything, but it wouldn't be worth doing if we didn't have awesome fans. So
and Chris and I are both extremely wealthy people, so
we're rolling in it.
Oh man, it's honestly it's too much at this point, wouldn't you say, Chris?
Sure. Yeah. It's hard to use it all.
Yeah. So obviously, if we wanted, we could just buy all the advertisements in the world, but we've merely decided not to. So if you could just share the show with your friends, since despite our enormous wealth, we're going to not probably do any advertisements for a little while. If you could just like maybe share the show with your friends.
Yeah, pick a favorite episode and send the link over and just say, hey, I think this is something you would like. We would love that. And we're also sort of vaguely working on a sampler episode thing. It's one of those things that's probably going to take us a little while because at some point it's going to involve one or both of us going back and listening to old episodes. But if you have suggestions,
oh my God, that's my nightmare. Yeah, please just tell us what we should include so neither of us has to do that.
Yeah, if you have a favorite segment, something that you think is particularly funny or will get people to enjoy the show a little quicker, we would love to hear about it. And also rate us on iTunes, notarealjob.com/iTunes. We have 15 ratings total, I believe, which is awesome. Perfect 5 stars, also awesome. And we would love more ratings and reviews there, especially if you're not in like one of the top 4 or 5, the UK, Canada, the US. Like that's where we've got our most market penetration, I would say. But we don't have that as much in the rest of the world. So we would love your help there. Also, send us in questions, notarealjob.com/questions. Tommy, we will cover your question next week, but that's the last one in the hopper. So anymore, that's the way to go. We're on Stitcher. We're on all sorts of services. I'm guessing that we're going to be on Overcast shortly if we're not already there. I'm not quite sure how that works, but we'll figure it out.
Yeah, I mean, it's just the feed. You can...
Yeah, which is also on the website. I think in the upper right corner, there's a feed link there. So there you have it. That is our show. That's 1 year. That's 50 episodes. And I'm looking forward to the next 50.
Yeah, I mean, we'll probably get almost there. I don't want to commit right now. Sure. Honestly, I don't know about you, Chris, but my favorite part of the questions is people feel obligated to not just ask a question. They always include like a sentence telling us how much they like the show first. If you don't have a question, but you like the show, could you just like, I don't know, let us know? It's really nice to hear.
Yeah. And I'll even go the other way. If you have listened to the show and you don't like something about it, like if you think those ums and ahs are annoying, or if you think we should do less of something or more of something else that we're doing, like please share that feedback as well.
Show length has been a bit of a discussion. I'm not going to say a controversy, but we've heard both sides of that, like too long and too short. I'm still curious about that.
This episode seems to be right in the middle, so maybe the middle point is good too. I don't know.
Yeah, it's like we try for 20 minutes. Is a half an hour better? Like, just let us know. Our whole goal was to make this a commute length show, and I think the average commute for a lot of people is in the 20 minutes to 30 minutes time. So let us know.
Yeah, definitely. Cool. All right. I guess that does it for this week, and we will be back next week. And there you go. Tell your friends.
Yeah, go to joelkelly.ca. Find us on Twitter at Joel Kelly and at Chris Van Patten. I can't believe it's been a year, man. I remember exactly where I was. I was at my fiance's parents' cottage in Shediac, New Brunswick, which is about, I don't know, it's about 20 miles north of the Hellmouth. Beautiful cottage, but oh my God, New Brunswick is the worst. And I checked my phone, as I do, when I'm supposed to be socializing with Leah's family. And I got this email from Chris saying, I know neither of us has time, but should we do a podcast? And I responded with, no, we don't have any time, but yeah, let's do it. And that was a year ago.
And it's been a wild ride.
Beautiful July day. It's been a ride.
Yeah.
It's been a coast.
Yeah. Let's be real.
Well, I mean, and we started at the top and we've been coasting downward clearly at an accelerated pace.
Yeah.
So yeah, like let us know if you've been listening since the beginning. Well, we know you weren't because no one listened at the beginning, but if you've been listening for a while, like let us know.
Just talk to us. We're lonely. That's
shout out to our super fans, Josh, Oz,
everyone.
Thanks, guys.
All the old gang.
Yeah. Oh, and I don't think Ben listens, but no, he submitted a question, so he must have at least listened to an episode. But thank you, Ben. Yeah, you guys, you are the OG fans. And obviously all the people who came to us, well, all of them came through the Bim Bam ad. So you know what? Thanks for stopping by. Thanks for listening for all this time. It's been great.
Joel Sharpton, Benjamin Harrison, of course.
We've
got just tons of people here who are tweeting about the show too, which is awesome. So it's very much appreciated.
Should we do one of those things like where every episode, should we shout out people who tweet about it? Or have you been doing that? Is that part of the show that I just tune out?
No, I have not been doing that.
Okay.
But yeah, if you
could have told me you did that
show,
every episode and I
would have believed it.
Like, oh, okay, neat.
But yeah, so definitely tweet about us. We'll talk about you on the show. And I guess there it is.
I know. I know you're desperately trying to wrap this up because you've got other stuff to do. And I do too. But I just feel like we haven't made this the episode. Steve, can you fix that in post?
Don't.
Just
no sound effects.
Please, the sound. Remember who pays you, Steve. I'm gonna have a separate discussion with Steve. This is gonna be awesome.
I'm sure it'll be amazing.
Yeah.
All right.
Spared no expense on this one. At NarchCast, notarealjob.com/questions for questions. JoelKelly.ca, big book giveaway, and that's it.
Cool.
So thank you, everyone. I love you all.
Yeah,
thanks
again.
for the year.
We made this a great year, and here's to at least one more episode, and we'll see where we go from there.
At least one more, and book your calendars right now. It's looking like I'll be in New York at the end of August, so we're not going to have like an official meetup, but let me know if you're in the city, and we should hang out.
For sure.
All right. Bye, everyone. Love you.
Bye.